What's up? This is Brandon London, and you're listening to the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. You hear that? The Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. Let's go, Giants.
Good evening and welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast in association with Andy's Men Club. Lads, as always, it is okay to talk. This time we are 67% British, 33% Irish, but absolutely, as always, believe it or not, still 100% Giants. Shane's on train duties tonight, but Kev returns to join me and producer Craig for another what is becoming a fairly regular Big Blue therapy session as the first nail in the coffin of the Giants 2023 season was firmly put in on Sunday in Las Vegas. And this isn't really just a Raiders review, as it said in the opening titles, but this is a Raiders rant. But we'll get into the game and what the immediate future looks like potentially for Big Blue in a minute. But do I dare ask how you are, guys?
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, it's definitely therapy's needed at this point now. You know, we're getting to the point this season where kind of last weekend was our last kind of hope, last sort of hurrah, last sort of, what are we going to be this year? And I think it's confirmed now we are going to be a bad team.
Pretty much. I don't think Sunday was good for mental health, and also I think it was tough. I think it was tougher for us to take as well because of the trip in 2 weeks' time. Just 2 weeks, we fly out 2 weeks this evening. So I think that does make it slightly tougher seeing the product that's out there on the field, knowing that we're going over there to see it. But since then, I think we've had time to kind of decompress a little bit, and I think the excitement's kind of built back up a little bit more than what it was in the immediate.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I switched off the game at halftime. I still haven't watched the second half, and I probably won't do. And it took a good sort of 24 to 48 hours to properly digest it for me, and we'll get into it in a bit, but it was just absolute utter dejection on Sunday night. So, yeah, not great. And not great for, like I said, mental health, not great for it. But, we're here to help and we're here to talk about it. And, that's what we're going to do. And we're probably going to rant a little bit and we're probably going to swear a little bit. But we've got to get it out,
Drive you to drink, so would.
There you go. Drives you to drink. Now, what is a change from our sort of normal setup? There won't be the good, the bad, and the what the feed was this week because, in all honesty, there's nothing good to talk about. It is all bad, and if I'm being honest, the whole season has almost turned into a complete what the feed was moment. So we're going to go into the game shortly. Instead, we're going to go for a few sort of highlights. We're going to go through a few moments and things that have happened since then, get some tweets and questions from Twitter, and then discuss them between us. No stat overload, not just complete unfiltered opinions regarding the game, this team, and what the future potentially looks like. So yeah, join us for that ride, because it's going to be a bumpy one. Before we get into that, with Christmas Day now less than 7 weeks away, 7 weeks till Christmas Day. Wow. We know that at the top of your Christmas list is always going to be some sweet, sweet Giants merch, as modelled by the lovely Kev and modelled by the lovely Craig. And so you can see on the wall behind Craig, we've all got Giants merch, every single one of us. And our friends at usasports.co.uk, to mark Black Friday coming up in 2 weeks' time, from this Friday onwards, using our code Big Blue, you can get yourself a huge huge 25% off your entire order. That's Big Blue to get 25% off your entire order at usasports.co.uk for their Black Friday event. So head on over, grab yourself a bargain. Producer Craig, we do have some breaking news, don't we?
We do indeed. As hinted earlier from our Twitter post.
I'm just going to put that out there. That was probably the highlight of this episode. That breaking news drop.
It will be the highlight of the episode. Yeah,
go for it.
So, as we've already discussed, we're out in New York in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, I think we will be close to landing, definitely very close to landing.
I think it is.
We land at like
4:55 Eastern.
Yeah,
4:55 Eastern or 3:55.
Probably another hour.
Like that. I don't know.
Hour till descent, but
yeah, we'll be on the flight. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but one thing people have been asking, we had a few DMs about this, just asking for an update on, is that we're going to be doing our meetup in New Jersey on the Saturday night after we've done the MetLife tour, and that has now all been confirmed that we will be at Red's Restaurant and Bar, a mere 3-minute Uber away from MetLife Stadium itself. We'll be there from 7 p.m. until late on the 25th of November, so that's the night before the game. This came highly recommended to us by Bobby Skinner of Talking Giants. So we have taken his advice to have a chat with Reds. I've been speaking with the owner. He's more than happy for us to come down and attend. So if you are one of our listeners and you do happen to be in the Jersey area, then make sure that you pop down and come and grab a beer with us and have a chat. We're going to try and do some interviews while we're there with a few people who ever turn up. Just to run you through a couple other things, obviously myself, Dan, Shane, we all arrive on the 22nd in the evening. Kev arrives on the 23rd, Thanksgiving Day. We will all at some point between 12 and late evening be in the Jack Dempsey's restaurant, which is quite close to the Empire State Building and Madison Square Garden, I believe. If you just look for Jack Dempsey on Google Maps, you'll find it there. Other than that, the Saturday we will be at... Go on, Dad.
I believe it's West 33rd Street.
Okay, there we go. So West 33rd. Saturday night, as we have just said, we will be at Reds, but before that, at 1 p.m, we will be doing the MetLife tour. So if anybody is coming over from the UK to the States, which I know quite a few of you are, then we are on the 1 p.m. tour, and then from 7 p.m. we'll be in Reds. And the only other kind of semi-meetup other than the game itself will be on the Tuesday, the 28th, I want to say it is. Tuesday the 28th, I think it is. We'll be at Madison Square Garden to watch the Knicks versus the Hornets game. So if anyone's around and fancies something to do, we'll be there. I'm just going to put the graphic one up on the screen for any of our viewers once more. So that's Red's Restaurant, 317 Washington Avenue, that we will be at on the Saturday. And one of the we're going to be all over the place at the tailgate probably before the game on Sunday. But one of the places we will be at will be Paul's, who's the ambassador for the Facebook group. So if you fancy coming down to meet us, that's where we'll be. But we'll also try and make an appearance. I know the Talking Giants have got one going on that we'd like to go down and meet up as well. So that is a long old spiel from me, but there we go.
So it's so good, although we're not in winning form. Yeah. Although we're not in winning form at the moment, this is a fantastic trip for us. It's the first time going over as a podcast. We've got some awesome stuff planned. And yeah, okay, we're not a good team at the moment, but it's still going to be a fantastic weekend. It'd be so cool to meet up with a couple of people, have a couple of beers, and sort of do group therapy together live.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, who would have thought that when we organised this, 6 months ago, that undrafted rookie Tommy DeVito would be the starting quarterback when we go? Who would have thought?
Everyone got their DeVito jerseys.
Absolutely, mate. 15s all around. But no, it's obviously, yeah, circumstances have changed with the team, but we're still mega looking forward to it. We're going to enjoy it as much as we can, and no doubt we will. And obviously for Craig and for Shane, it's their first time in New York, so it's a new experience for those two as well. So once you've been once, you fall in love with the city, and so you want to go again and again and again, because it's in my opinion, it's the greatest city in the world. But yeah, mega looking forward to it. 2 weeks time. Reds is pretty well known around sort of around the stadium because it's so close by. So if you're in the area, if you're in the East Rutherford area and you want to pop down, come and have a drink with us and come chat football, because that's what we're there for. All right, we can't really hold off much longer. Big talking point of the weekend. Franchise quarterback Daniel Jones. Craig.
Yes. Yeah. 1 quarter. That's all he lasted. One quarter under centre in his first game back in 4 weeks.
It's a lot longer than Aaron Rodgers lasted.
It is, but at least they know that they're crap. Anyway.
He's coming back as well, so
yeah, we won't be seeing Jones again. The initial fear was that he tore his ACL. That was confirmed by Brian Dable on Monday, and now Jones is going to go to IR to end his season. So as Dan said, this is slightly different. So what we're going to do is throw as many questions to the group as much as possible. We actually had one on Twitter. So Sunday night on Twitter, after our "this one really hurt" tweet, Irish New York Giants, Irish NYG said, how do you see the DJ situation playing out? I know if we get a top 3 pick, we'll probably go quarterback, but do you reckon Jones gets traded or maybe a backup until contract expires? Kev, do you want to give that one a go first?
Yeah, so because we all wanted it to work out with Daniel Jones, and it's just so difficult. If Joe Sheehan and Brian Dable end up picking top 3 and have a chance to get one of the top quarterbacks in this league, potential top quarterbacks coming out in the draft, it'd be so hard to pass up the opportunity to draft your guy. The thing with Daniel Jones is I can't see anyone say, for example, if we move on with Daniel Jones, we do pick that QB in this upcoming draft, then the writing's on the wall for Daniel Jones. And I can't see anyone trading for him with the contract we've just given him. Teams will probably want to wait for us to cut him at the end of the 2024 season. On the market as a free agent looking, and people will be offering a 1-year prove-it deal. And he'll still be a young quarterback then at 27. So difficult. For the coming season, if we draft a ready-made QB to come out like a superstar that people are talking about in this draft, his position can only really be as backup QB in season 2024. Just looking at his cap hits, this coming year, he's 40 on the books for 47 million cap hit in 2024, and we can't cut him because it's too much dead money. But then at the end of the 2024 season, his cap hit for 2025 is 41.6 million. Now, if you cut it last season or at the end of the 2024 season, the dead money is 22.2, but you actually will see of 19.3 in cap space. And if you do that, he's on the books in 2026 for 58 million. Now, that's a massive number. But like I said, if you do cut him at the end of the 2024 season, leading into 2025, all of that 56 million you save, because you will be taking all the dead money cap in the 2025 season. Pardon me. So really precarious position. He could be back physically fit for the beginning of next season, but I think if to go a new way with a quarterback so high in the draft, they don't sit for very long these days.
Dan, what do you think? How do you think it plays out?
I can't see him getting traded. He's not going to be traded. The likelihood of him having any potential suitors around the league coming off ACL tear, is very, very slim. Tie in the fact that he's got that massive contract as well. Nobody's going to pick that up. it'll have to be a team that's desperate if they do. And, coming off of that injury, he's not guaranteed to be back to the Dan Jones we saw last year or in his rookie season. He'll still be on the roster next year. No question about it. And in all honesty, I still think he'll be the starting quarterback as well. Obviously, if we do get that sort of top 3, top 5 pick that I think everybody's expecting now, you'll be stupid to turn down one of the top talents to come out, especially at quarterback position, because there is a huge amount of talent coming out of that position in this upcoming draft in 24. I can't see us not drafting a quarterback with one of those top 5 picks because Dan Jones's future is so uncertain. Unless, Joe Shane and Dave's wholeheartedly, really and truly believe in Daniel Jones' ability to lead this team. And, if, and it's a big if we do decide that Daniel Jones is the one moving forward, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that top 5 pick potentially being traded away. I hope to. You don't want to do that, but at the same time, if we're not going to draft a quarterback, then you're looking to potentially shop that pick away to potentially get more capital to a team that is quarterback needy. For me, Sunday was a total gut punch, and nobody saw it coming. We were hopeful that he'd come back from injury and he would sort of get back to sort of his way of doing things. We'd see an improvement in the offense, but it didn't happen. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and he ends up with this non-contact injury, goes down, and from that moment on, you could tell it was that was it. That was curtains for him. So, yeah, I think he doesn't get traded. He's still on the roster next year. Whether he's starting quarterback, whether he's on the bench, who knows? But are the owners really going to see $40 million sitting on the bench? No. So for me, it still starts next year, regardless of whether we draft a top 3 quarterback or whatever we do with that pick, whatever pick we have in the draft next year. I think he starts next year. Obviously, bearing in mind his health status, obviously, if he is healthy to start, it's a difficult one, but it just sucks to be in this position,
Yeah, I mean, just to add as well, I mean, I can see lots of different sides of it, but actually listen to Dan speak, and I can see a situation where Daniel Jones starts at himself in the shop window. If you do draft one of the top QBs, and you do want to look to trade Jones, you might let the rookie sit for a bit, let Daniel Jones go out there, show if he's still got anything worth, give himself some trade value, if you like. I just think if the Joe Sheehan and Brian Dable are there with a chance to get one of the top prospects, they can't afford another bad season. They can't afford to go decent season and bad season again. So they might look to do it on their terms, as in we want to bring in our guy that we drafted, that we can mold, and sort of if we're going out.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Craig?
I mean, Andy, who, as we well know, one of our good friends from the Facebook group, is watching on Facebook. And Andy's made some good points. DJ's probably not going to be fit in time for him to be traded next season. ACL is usually a 12-month injury. I know that there are some players out there who have torn their ACL around the same time, if not a couple of weeks later, sort of week 11, week 12 time, and come back for week 1 next year. It's all down to the person, isn't it? Kyler Murray tore his, I think, week 16, so quite late. He's due to be coming back now. So it is one of those things. It depends, one, how the surgery goes, how the rehab goes, how it feels being on a field for the first time afterwards. I know there were a lot of reports that Jones has been prehabbing, which is a new term for me today, prehabbing, where he's been on a bike. He's been on an exercise bike And that's crazy to me. Like, I think ACL, I just think, it's like a horse with a gimpy leg. You just take him behind the old shed.
Your knee's in tatters, and he's on an exercise bike.
Yeah,
All
exactly. Right. But Andy also said Dave isn't in a position to believe in DJ. The only thing that makes him really special is his running ability, and off an ACL injury, you can't guarantee that ability. And he's completely right there as well.
Very true.
There was something that I thought was quite poignant on Twitter that kind of comes into your point, Dan, about how Jones will likely, if he's well enough, he'll likely be the starter week 1. I do agree with that. I do think that you could almost look at next year as being the bridge year, where he bridges the gap between that rookie superstar that we're potentially going to take. And I do think we will take a quarterback in the draft. I don't think there's a chance in hell of us dropping back at all. I think if we're likely to be picking in the top 5, if not top 3, and we're going to need to just pull the trigger, I think. But one interesting thing that you did say is about how obviously Jones starts, he puts himself in the trade window. I think that is how the Giants could play this out. Is they could, you look at the amount of injuries that have happened already this season. We mentioned Aaron Rodgers going down. Matthew Stafford's not incredibly healthy at the moment. They don't know if he's going to be ready to go. Even Jalen Hurts is dealing with a knee injury that he seems to be able to kind of play through. So I think the way that this might happen is that you might see Jones start those first 5-6 weeks, and then by the trade deadline, if a major QB goes down and someone goes, hey, we need someone who's going to take our season forward, it's a perfect time for Jones to kind of go, even if the Giants have to eat a little bit of money. I'm kind of like they did with the Leo side of things. I'm not upset if they have to eat a little bit of money. And then that new rookie quarterback comes in, especially if the beginning of next season doesn't pan out too well. There's multiple ways of looking at it. But, I mean, also on Sunday, we did quote Rappaport's tweet about the Giants fearing that the injury was significant. And one of the things that we did is we asked fans about what they thought the QB situation could be like going forward. Now, obviously, this was on Sunday, and it was all hypothetical at that stage. A lot of people said get the new QB at the end of the season. Names mentioned Caleb Williams and Drake May. Absolutely nobody is surprised that those are the two names that were mentioned in the tweets. For this season, there were multiple options mentioned. One person said DeVito to stay in, so we could go 2-15. One mentioned Cam Newton, which no, thank you. It's bad enough that the way that man tweets, let alone having him on a football field with us. And another was Carson Wentz, who actually has now gone to the Rams.
He's now with the Rams,
yeah, to back up Matthew Stafford, depending on what happens with Stafford. Now, it's unlikely that we were going to get another vet in. Kev, you mentioned on Monday in our group chat that there are a few young QB prospects out there that we could have taken a look at. Malik Cunningham, Max Duggan, Kellen Mond. But the Giants have signed a quarterback, but they kind of went in a slightly different direction. They signed quarterback Jacob Eason. Eason was originally a 4th-round pick of the Colts in 2020, spent time with the Seahawks, 49ers, and Panthers, and was actually had a workout with the Giants in the offseason. So there's obviously previous there. 2 career games for Eason so far, completed 5 of 10 for 84 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Sounds absolutely wonderful. So the Giants currently have... Go on, Dan, sorry.
Can't be any worse than we've already seen.
I mean, he can.
Yeah, true. Very true.
I mean, as long as he passes the ball, he's no worse than DeVito was in the second half against the Jets. But I feel like, I'm going to go off on a tangent a little bit here, but I do feel like DeVito, albeit in garbage time, looked a lot better Sunday than he did the previous week. And that's purely because they allowed him to throw it. But that wasn't always.
I mean, his touchdown pass to Wandale was fairly decent, I will admit.
Oh, on the run, on the money, really well done. Obviously a great route by Robinson as well, who's quietly been very, very good this season. However, with the Giants currently having Matt Barkley, Tommy DeVito, and Jacob Eason now on the roster, and I'll go with you first, Dan. What do you want the Giants to do for the rest of the season?
Play with pride.
An underwhelming smorgasbord of choices.
Yeah. Just go and play your fucking hearts out and play with pride. Don't capitulate. Don't tank. Don't just turn up on the field and think that, just being on the field is given enough. Give everything for this team. Yes, you might lose every game, and in all likelihood, we probably will lose every game, and we all probably will go 2-15. But play with some pride, play with some heart, play with some fire in your belly, because we're going to be massive underdogs in pretty much every game we go into for the rest of the season. We're 16-point underdogs against the Cowboys for this Sunday at the moment as it stands. And that's the biggest game spread of any game at all this season so far. So it's no shock at all, but just go and play with some heart. I'm not surprised Tommy DeVito's been named the starter. He did look way off against the Jets. And like I said, his pass to Wandale was nice on the weekend. You can tell he's a third-string rookie, but your expectations from a third-string rookie aren't exactly high. Do we give Matt Barkley a shot if DeVito isn't panning out well? Why not? What have we got to lose? Do we give Dion East? Maybe. Why not give him a shot as well? Because what have we got to lose? But over the next few games, I think, let's see what DeVito can do. I don't expect much. I expect less than 10 points per game, which is not far below average of what we've averaged this season so far. So you just see how it goes. But what I do want to see is some of these veterans that they're in their last year of their deal, or they're on a 1-year deal. I want to see them really fight and give everything and show the front office why we should potentially re-sign them. And Jamie, thanks very much for ruining my night. We were 2-0 up and now it's 2-2. Thanks so much, mate. I really appreciate that. But yeah, back on topic. The one thing I do want to say about Sunday is that with DJ coming back in the starting lineup, obviously there was hope that we would improve. And granted, his performance in the first quarter wasn't great. His numbers don't jump off the sheet and it doesn't look amazing. But from what you could see, the intention was there. Those 2 deep shots to Jalen Hyatt that didn't quite work out. You could see there was something different about the offense. The holes that were opened up for Saquon on the offensive line, I'd tip my hat to the offensive line. Apart from, there's a few plays that were a bit ropey at best, but I tip my hat to them because they did a stellar job creating those holes for Barkley to run through. 6.2 yards a carry was averaging in the first quarter. We've not seen an average like that for fucking ever. So he was, that first quarter we were playing fairly well. DJ wasn't great, but we were playing fairly well. And then obviously he goes down and that's it. Game over, season over. Thanks very much. Let's see you in 2024. But play with pride, play with passion. And you never know. Stranger things have happened. We might win a game.
Go on, Kev. So Barkley, DeVito, Easton. What are you looking for the rest of the season?
So the rest of the season, I think Easton's been brought in off the street this week, like literally yesterday, today. I think he will be more of he's on the practice squad. I think he'll be more of a scout team guy, an extra arm in there to help the scout team. I think Barkley has had experience in Dable's offense in the past. But again, he's just come in. He's just signed to the active 53 today, this week. He's just in the building. Whereas Tommy DeVito is a young, undrafted rookie who has flashed. I'm not saying he's good or anything like that, but he has flashed a bit of potential, bit of movement out of the pocket, been able to make some throws. And he has got, he's able to pick up yards with his feet when he has to. He needs to remember to slide and not fall forward. We don't want more QBs getting injured. But I think he's been in the system all off-season, all this season. He's had very, very, very limited reps in practice. Whereas this week now, he will be getting all the starting reps. And I think that's massive for him to go out there and get all the starting. I think just in case, but I think, with DeVito getting all this starter reps this week, I think that would be invaluable. And I think we might see some flashes from him because don't forget, we said in preseason when he played quite well in the preseason games that, he could be one for the future backup. Joe, we said, this is Tyrod Taylor's last year. Could Dan DeVito be Tommy DeVito even? Could Tommy DeVito be the long-term backup? So why not go out there with more confidence, more practice, and throw the ball around a bit? And I don't want to see them run Saquon into the ground. Give him his fair share of reps, obviously, carries. But just back to Dan's point as well, in 1-year deals, I think if you're not really seriously considering re-signing these players, I would sit them. I would play all the young players. I would play. No way would I say tank. 100% not tanking, but bring in the young, hungry players who might just have a future with this franchise.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, we've all done the Danny DeVito. Don't worry, Kev. It's fine. We've all called him Danny DeVito. But what are you going to say, Craig?
Well, Jamie was just saying Danny Dimes to Danny DeVito only in MetLife. There was a few other comments that have come in. Andy said, "Do we have a fit quarterback that has a win in the NFL?" I don't know Matt Barkley's history off the top of my head. I've looked it up. It is Andy 2-5, so he does have 2 wins to his name. One for the Bears back in 2016, and one for Buffalo in 2018, which ironically was the last time he actually played a game. So.
Wow.
Yes, not ideal. So just before just before we move on from talking about Jones and the quarterback situation at the moment, or at least the quarterbacks by name, Kev, Shane's not here, so you are the resident draft analyst for us for the moment. If the Giants do look to take a quarterback in the draft, which is what it does look like, who is the standout at the moment in your eyes before you've really had a chance to dive into the tape? And obviously there's still a lot of college ball left to be played as well.
Yeah, so there's the big two that everyone's talking about. You've mentioned them already in this podcast earlier, and that would be Caleb Williams of USC and Drake May from UNC. The thing, so Caleb Williams, right? He's 6 foot, 215 pounds. He makes plays out of structure, which is fantastic. But he does actually try and stay in the pocket and make plays. He stays in the pocket. He tries to keep his eyes downfield to try and make traditional throws. But his charge, the way he avoids pressure, is phenomenal. And he's got an elite arm. He can make all the throws from any platform. Kind of gives you the Patrick Mahomes vibes. That style of player, where you think, oh, you've got him. He escapes and throws sidearm all the way down the field for a completion or a touchdown. And you think to yourself, how did he do that? I mean, he had a bad game against Notre Dame this year, but the interceptions he had, I mean, I think he's had 1 or 2 interceptions his whole career, and he threw 3 in one game against Notre Dame. But they were more concentration, lack of concentration, as opposed to lack of talent. But when he played Notre Dame the year before, we thought we had him pocket and make completion after completion. And he's just such a good talent, and he by many is seen as number 1 talent, number 1 going overall, cannot miss on this player. And the other one is Drake May, who would be more the traditional. He's 6'5", 230, great size, great build, big and strong. He's got a cannon of an arm. I mean, he throws one of the best deep balls you'll ever see. And he would be the better pocket passer, as in, just standing in there and throwing very, very accurate passers. And he is actually a sneaky good runner. He would be a better sort of Daniel Jones running. He's not as Williams, but when he's in open field, he goes. He's like an absolute gazelle. He's just, you can't stop him. It's so hard to bring down because, like I said, that's 6'5", 230. He's like a linebacker. It's so hard to bring him down. And to give you a bit of context, he would have Justin Herbert's arm, but Josh Allen's athleticism is the type of player. Come on, I'm not saying either of these players are as good as the players I mentioned them as. I'm giving you the type of player they are, or what type of player they could be in this league. They both need work. They both need more coaching, and they need to work get their footwork better. Because, like I said, with Caleb Williams, some of his interceptions would be properly. He didn't have his feet set properly, so he needs to work on that. And Williams would be more of a playmaker, whereas he just makes things happen out of structure, like I said. Whereas May would be the better at reading coverages. He plays in more of an NFL-ready type system. So, in my opinion, either of those two players is a home run, in my opinion. Out of the two, I go back and forward because I go with the playmaker who can make stuff happen and just wows you. And then I go back to I really like the traditional read defenses because I think that translates to the NFL, being able to stand in the pocket and go through 1, 2, 3, 4 reads. So the tank with May. So I don't really have a preference at this moment in time. I do need to delve into them a wee bit more, but I do think these are two can't miss prospects in my opinion.
It's interesting that you say that Williams is like Mahomes, and then obviously with May you compared him to Josh Allen as well, but you say Justin Herbert. Exactly the kind of comparisons that I've been seeing on Twitter especially with May and Herbert. A lot of people are saying that's the kind of closest comparison between him from an NFL pro level. So it's good. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting few months as both of those play more and more and move on to the bowl games, which obviously there was the announcement earlier that the bowl games are going to be changing and there's going to be more competition for the shrine games, isn't it, at the end there? So Kev, I don't know if you want to give us a bit more information on that. You probably know a little bit more than we do.
Yeah, so traditionally, you have a couple of major sort of end of season sort of exhibition games. So the Senior Bowl being one, and obviously the Senior Bowl being named the Senior Bowl, obviously is only seniors can play in it. And for years and years and years, you had to be a senior. Whereas, as you know, after 3 years of college football, you can come out. So you can come a junior. But these players coming out as juniors couldn't play in these Senior Bowls, East-West Shrine Games, Polynesian Bowls, the Hula Bowls, all these type of end-of-season sort of exhibition games to promote talent, coming from college. And it's been quite frustrating. A couple of years ago, they relaxed the rules. Is that you could go to the Senior Bowl if you were a junior who graduated early. So if you done everything really fast, all your credits and everything, graduated early, you were allowed then to attend the Senior Bowl. But now the news is coming out that basically anyone will be able to play in these bowls now, and that's really good because you want to see good on good. And it might not necessarily be the games, but it's the practice of the one-on-ones, the drills, seeing DBs go against wide receivers, seeing D linemen go up against offensive line. It gives you a real sense of okay, what are these players like against the cream of the crop? Because as we know, in college football, there's 120 top-tier college football teams. So and such a small, minute number go to the NFL. So some players you might not see who don't go to these bowl games and have the training during the week. You only see them on tape against other college teams. So it's really good to see, like I said, good on good, steel on steel, iron sharpening iron, all that type of stuff. So I think it's a really good thing because it will be able to give you a better junior players that are coming out.
There we go. Apologies if there were any technical difficulties. I had Kev go a little choppy there. It might have just been me, but apologies if there was anything there. Anyway, I'm going to hand over to Kev now because I guess we should move on to topic 2, seeing as we're almost 40 minutes in.
Let's talk offense. Yay!
Do we have to?
I mean, you can describe it in one word. Shit. But there you go. Carry on.
Shambles. Yeah. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, the offensive play calling this year, I want to speak about that specifically. Kafka was able to create simple yet really, really effective plays that allowed the offense to score enough points to win games last season. Now, I think we're averaging, 11 points a game this year? I mean, that's awful. That's 1970s football, 1960s football. We're never going to win games scoring, that low points. But against the Raiders, there were multiple head-scratching decisions. I mean, that made no sense at all. I think the play calling just showed a bit lack of creativity. It just seemed like we weren't able to tap into the plays that we had the season before. I mean, the Raiders' weakness was the run game. We knew that. And like you said, went for nearly 7 yards per carry. I mean, why we weren't able to exploit that the way we should have. But there was two separate, was it 4th and 1s, and Kafka decided to do the tush push, right? This is despite having a QB and Daniel Jones that's just come back from a neck surgery. I mean, we were in the group chat and we were like, what is he doing? Like, Daniel Jones has come back from major neck injury and he's just been cleared and you're trying to do like the tush push. Like, it was just so weird. I mean, he then had DeVito throw it on first 2 downs, 2 1st and 10s, despite the Giants' run game working so well. I mean, what about keeping them honest? I want to be able to work the play action. And don't talk to me about the Philly special on the 2-point conversion. I mean, why? Just why? I was there and I was just going absolutely mad. But it's so weird. I mean, like, so why has it been so bad? It's just such a conundrum. I mean, me personally, I don't think that it's all Kafka's fault. Sorry. I mean, it's very easy to call a play caller. I understand that, but I kind of think that, is it, I'm asking these questions. I don't know the answer. Like, is it Kafka's play calling and what's up with that? Or is it the case of, like, he's had a really, really bad offensive line play for all this season and we vibe out there, like, for any consistency whatsoever. And then not only that, we've had a quarterback in Daniel Jones who's had his worst statistical season in his 5 years playing for the Giants. Now, like, it must be very difficult to go out and call all the plays you want to call when you've got like the fundamentals in offense like not working for you. Like the offensive line, the quarterback. I mean, they dictate where how long the quarterback gets to throw the ball. Quarterback decides where the ball goes, stuff like that. Do you mean, like, so when these two fundamental parts aren't working, are you left sort of scratching your head? Like everything I call just isn't working. So I'm not too sure whether like it is his sort of play calling or whether it's the fact that, the offensive line has had no consistency and been able to gel and the QB just hasn't played his best football. I mean, in multiple times in our group chats this season, like we've complained about Kafka's play calling and wondering why is he calling this play. And time after time again, he's making what we think sometimes are the wrong play calls, or he's playing far, far too conservatively. Dan mentioned on Monday that he hates when the OCs are up in the booth, up in the gods, looking down. And the Steelers made the decision to bring their OC down to the sideline. So Bill needs to do the same.
Yeah, I don't feel like I really have an opinion on whether whether they need to be up in the booth on the sideline, and I can get the arguments for both. I think that there's obviously a much easier relationship and conversation to be had between Dabes and Kafka, and it's probably quite easy for Kafka to do a death stare or throw a tablet at Kafka if he's on the sidelines. But I do also kind of get why Kafka's up there, because I think if you look at it from a tactical perspective, you get the kind of side-on all 22 view if you're up there, and you can probably exploit more. I think if Dable feels like he could get a handle on the offense better, having Kafka down there like he has Wink down there for defense, I'm not opposed to it. But like I said, I don't really have a strong feeling either way. But I will hand over to Dan, who probably does.
To be honest, like I don't think it really makes much in the way of difference in terms of the offensive play calling, the communication between head coach and the OC, because obviously they're in constant contact with each other over their headsets. And obviously they're gonna catch up at halftime and whatever. So I don't really think it makes much difference in that sort of sense. And yeah, they're going to get a better view of the field from up there in the booth and really see what's going on. They can report back to the head coach about what he's seeing on offense, what the opposing defense is scheming, what they're doing, what they're showing. But for me, like it's almost like in soccer, in football, would you ever see the manager, unless he's banned from the touchline, would you ever see him sat in the stands dictating and shouting from the stands to his players? No, you wouldn't. No. I mean, it might just be me. I don't know, but I just don't like it. I never have. And at the same, like you said, there's nothing wrong with a Dave's death stare. There's nothing wrong with Dave's throwing a tablet at him. There's nothing wrong with Dave's looking in your face and shouting "What the fuck" at you. You know, like he did to Evan Neal when he came off the field after that false start on Sunday. So there's nothing wrong with that. So I get it. You know, it comes down to like their preference, and if he prefers to be in the booth, he prefers to be in the booth. But when it goes tits up, which it has done most of the time this season, get him down to the sideline, face the music, and face the wrath of the head coach. And there you go. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can. No, I was just going to say, Craig, I can see both sides to it. Like you said earlier, I think there's some sense in like seeing the bigger picture, looking down and seeing different types of like defenses, how they line up, their tendencies, if they're pressing, if they're off man, you know, just to see what their different types of tendencies. I kind of get that. But maybe you could have an analyst do that, like an assistant coach do that and feed that back down to you on the ground, maybe. Both ways, to be honest.
That's what offensive assistants are for, right? You know,
yeah, exactly. I mean, so with that, so Kafka, like with the situation currently the way it is, like, would you guys trust Kafka as the offensive coordinator next year? You know, especially if you've got a young rookie prospect under center. I think the way I look at it is, for me, I think I would have him back because I want to see what Dable, who developed Josh Allen, and Kafka, who helped develop Patrick Mahomes, I want to see what they can do with a QB that they choose. Someone that is, like I said earlier on the podcast, their guy, and see what they can develop. So he should come back next year.
Yeah. Before I get into that, I just want to kind of go back slightly to the what Dan was saying about football managers. I know that Andy put a thing up saying, you know, it does happen a lot in soccer where managers sit up top and come down at halftime. And actually, it is something that my mate who I go to the Reading games with used to say that Steve Coppell used to do a lot, in the fact that he would get the tactical lay of the land in the first half, come down at halftime and make the changes. However, there's a reason for him to being up there, and then he comes down. You know, Kafka's spending his entire time up in the booth, and I think that's the issue that we're saying. I mean, Jamie's saying make him freeze outside like everyone else, get him out of the wall upstairs.
I agree, Jamie.
Jamie also said Dable's the head coach and we want to see him fired up because it shows he cares. But Andy can see the other side of that. Have you seen how emotional Dable gets? I'd want to be hiding in the stands too. So, you know, there's multiple opinions on this. Going back to your question, Kev, about next year, I'm completely on board with what you're saying. I think if you think about what Kafka's doing from a standpoint at the moment, is that he's trying to build a system that fits a quarterback that's already had multiple systems ingrained in his head. And let's be honest, we've all spoken about Daniel Jones and how many times he's had head coaches and offensive coordinators in his career. Trying to get another one and another one and another one is probably just absolutely frazzled his brain to the point where he doesn't know what he's doing. And you can see that with the conservative play calling that we had last year. You know, we mentioned it that the Giants did well, but the playbook wasn't exactly, you know, luxurious, was it? In the terms of play calling, it was very basic. So, I would trust Kafka next year, and I think it is completely down to those points that you made. That, you know, we have an offensive coordinator and a head coach who have molded two of the best quarterback talents we've probably seen in the last decade. So and we know how hard it is to hit on a first-round draft pick at quarterback. We've seen for as many good ones, as for as many Herberts and Mahomes and Allens and Lamar Jacksons that we see our fair share of crap ones. Johnny Manziel was one that we've mentioned before. Baker Mayfield's on his third team. Sam Darnold around,
and he was number one overall.
Exactly, Sam Darnold, Wentz, even Zach Wilson. Look at all of these.
Even going back as far as like Sam Bradford.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not always a surefire.
Yep,
it's not always a surefire.
I mean, yeah, maybe like off topic a bit. Daniel Jones, it might do him a wonder to get out of the New York market and try it with a different team.
Yeah, I mean, I see it from your perspective that Kafka, he's trying to build something, and Dabes and Shane clearly like him. They brought him in, and like you said, the amount of different coordinators that Daniel Jones has had in he's in his 5th year now, and the amount of different systems he's had to play in and learn, and I get that. You want a bit of consistency. But at the same time, as Kev rightly said, when your offense is averaging 11.2 points per game, a dead last in the league, that's almost 4 points short of the New England Patriots, who are having their worst season in 20 years. When we're averaging 268.9 yards per game on offense, which is last in the league, when you're averaging 155 yards passing per game, which is last in the league, your offense that you're supposedly coordinating and leading is dead last in most major categories. I'm sorry, but how in any way, shape, or form can you justify keeping your job? It's like saying you got a Premier League season, 38 games. Your team scores 10 goals in that whole season through 38 games, and you let the manager keep his job next season. Who in the right mind is going to do that? Because they're clearly not right for the job. So the fact that our offense is it's been inept this season. It's been absolutely dreadful, awful, diabolical, abysmal. Like, the one glimmer of hope we saw was that second half against the Cardinals. That we saw a very, very small glimmer of hope in the game at the weekend in that first quarter, in the fact that they did try to mix it up and did try and sort of bring in some big plays and throw the ball downfield and get the ball to Barkley and establish a run. So, that was positive to see. But when you've got all your eggs in that basket and that basket then breaks and them eggs fall flat on their faces or flat on the ground and smash everywhere like they have done with Daniel Jones' injury, you've got nothing left. Like I said, I'm not expecting any more than 10 points per game the rest of this season. Whether that's down to play calling, whether that's down to the offense we've got, who knows? But the buck stops with Mike Cap. It stops with Brian Daboll. I get that, but Kafka's a huge piece of it, and he's going to have to answer these questions. It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. We scored nine offensive touchdowns through 9 games. Christian McCaffrey and Raheem Mostert have 13 themselves each, and our whole offense has 9 touchdowns this season. Granted, obviously they play for the Niners and the Dolphins, who are excelling this season on offense, but what's your excuse? Injuries. You can't use that excuse all the time. So we've said it all along. There is something fundamentally wrong with this 2023 Giants team. We can't put our fingers on it. We've not been able to put our finger on it since the absolute mauling at the hands of the Cowboys in week 1. We've not been able to understand what the problem is, not been able to see what the problem is, because there is a problem. And don't you get me started on special teams. How has Thomas McGahee still got his job? But that's a conversation for another day. But I would love to say I could see Mike Kafka on the Giants in 2024, but at the rate we're going, I can't see having any other option but to bin him and start again, because this offense is not performing. And when it comes to the offense, you look at the defense. Look what Wink's doing on defense. His unit is absolutely balling. So Kafka's got questions to answer, and they're going to be tough questions for him to answer. And he's going to have to prove why he's worthy and why he deserves to keep the job going into next year. Anyway, rant over.
Right.
Rant over.
Do you want to move on to another rant?
Yeah.
Now, Dan.
All right. Another rant. Here we go again. All right. The last big issue we're going to cover before we go tonight is the whole Xavier McKinney and sort of state of the Giants, McKinney situation, the sort of state of the Giants as a whole as we stand at the moment. So obviously in the locker room after Sunday's game, McKinney seemed to confirm the worries we have been banging on about, that there is a rift between players and coaches. He's quoted by ESPN saying, honestly, it sucks, but I don't know. I don't really have many words. I think that from a leadership standpoint, I don't think they've done a great job of letting the leaders lead and listening to the leaders and captains. But obviously it sucks losing. It's just been tough. I don't want to speak on it too much, but that's been my frustration. Yes, McKinney. Yes, we're all frustrated we're losing. But are you really going to throw your coaches under the bus like that? Like, come on. And then later on Tuesday, he was asked about his chat with Wink. And he said, we met, we're going to keep pushing. We got on the same page. We're keeping everything in-house, clearly. And we're on good terms. So, everything's good. Like I said, we're just going to keep working, keep trying to figure out how we can be able to string these wins together. And that's really all that matters at the end of the day. But everything is good. Now, that last statement saying, but everything is good. Well, day before, everything wasn't good. So what's changed in that 24 hours? This isn't the first time that McKinney's spoken up about issues within the team. So what did you make of those comments, Kev?
I think the initial comments he was referring to, he was seeing stuff that the offense were doing, and he was trying to give tips to the coaches saying we should do this because they're doing that, and he felt he wasn't being listened to. That's fine. You can have those frustrations. I completely understand that. But there's places to vent that. There's places to express that. I think doing it to the media in this way, like you said, Dan, throwing coaches under the bus a bit, I think it's just stupid. It's childish. And what it does for me is it actually shows a real lack of leadership. Because I think your leaders need to stand up front and don't point blame, take blame or defer, or deflect and defer. You should keep everything in house. I just think, it should have been lacking maturity, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got to agree. Shane's been quite vocal about this in the group chat. It's a real shame he's not here, isn't he? He's not a happy bunny with these kind of comments, and rightly so. I think that McKinney has kind of shown a complete lack of respect for the coaches himself. And I think the fact that he's got previous in doing this, especially this season already, after the Giants potentially gave him, I don't want to say they were soft on him, but they were very forgiving after his immaturity last season with the ATV incident and everything. So I think for him to then turn around and come out and the comments that he's made after Leo left and the comments that he made earlier on in the season about, the offense and how they were playing, which totally justified, but justified if we say them, not if somebody in his position says them. And we're going to come on to this in a minute as another question, so I won't touch on it too much, but I do think that there is a sense of sour grapes around a certain something that he's not getting. But if you look at some of the comments we're getting on Twitter, on YouTube, And on Facebook, Jamie saying McKinney not talking much. He's not shut up the last few weeks. All the bullshit coming out of his mouth. Andy, so McKinney is that guy who posts on Facebook, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening." And then when he was asked if everything's okay, he said he'd DM you. It's right. And Jamie saying maybe someone can point out Xavier how to tackle and break up passes. He clearly doesn't know. And you could see him give up on the play. That Jacoby Myers jet sweep during the game, he is the last line of defence. He's literally the last person who could if he punches that ball out and it goes out of bounds or it goes through the back of the end zone, it's a turnover.
Touchback.
Yeah,
touchback.
It's a touchback.
Job done. Thanks very much.
But instead he runs towards him and just goes, "Oh, I just can't be arsed this." And it's like
jugged.
It's just absolute joke, isn't it? I honestly cannot express how frustrated I am to have a player go from somebody who I respect and love on the team, and also think that he's one of the best players on the team, to what he's turned into, which is somebody who potentially shouldn't even be with us for much longer.
We talked about getting his jersey and everything.
We did, didn't we?
Exactly. I think, the fact that he said, I don't think they've done a great job of letting the leaders lead. Leaders lead by example. Speaking out to the media and saying this bullshit about your coaches, it's not leading by example, mate. So you're calling yourself a leader, but you're completely sort of going against what a leader does. You can't call yourself a leader if you're going to do that. So I'm sorry, it's that lack of effort and that lack of desire that you see from him. Like you said, on that play, it was almost like if that was anyone else in that position, I think anyone else, don't hold me to that. But if it was anybody else in that position that was in that position to make that play, they make that play. If that was Bobby Okereke in that position, he makes that play. Pinnock makes it every time, absolutely. If that's Michael McFadden, he makes that play. If that's even fucking Kayvon Thibodeau makes that play. So why is McKinney not making that play? It's just mega frustrating.
Can we just touch on is Pinnock playing to the level we thought McKinney should have been playing to?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hasn't he?
Yeah, Pinnock's been what we expected McKinney to be this season. Pinnock's playing above his station. We were all saying that we would be happy if we got Jay Love kind of vibes from Pinnock, but Pinnock is playing even above that, I think.
And we got him for next season on 1 million as well.
Exactly. So I'd much rather have Pinnock on there than McKinney, put it that way. And anyway, Ryan Dunleavy as well on Monday asked another of the Giants captains, Andrew Thomas, about the comments. And Andrew Thomas said, I don't know exactly where he's coming from or where he's feeling that. But me personally, I think we do a good job being able to communicate with the staff on anything we need. Any frustrations or whatever, or any questions we have, I feel they're pretty open. Obviously, Thomas is on the offensive side, McKinney's on the defensive side, so maybe there's a bit of difference of opinion there. The Giants captains, they have meetings on Fridays, but it's clear that Andrew Thomas doesn't have that same opinion as McKinney on it. And Chris, nobody beats the Bears, Bisignano from the Giant Insider, revealed on Twitter that the best part is he's hearing is that the rest of the captains have no idea what Xavier McKinney is talking about. So great, well done, mate. Realistically, then, do you think McKinney is likely to get himself another contract if Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are around next year? And there's nothing to say that either of those two are going anywhere. So, Craig, do you reckon he's got a new contract coming his way anytime soon?
Not a chance. Not a chance. I don't even think he'd be bloody franchise tagged at this point. Then they'd try and sneak him that way and piss him off, and again by getting him on another year that way.
Let him go to the Raiders and let him fall flat there, and
I think the biggest thing that would count against McKinney, especially with everything else that he's done, is the fact that he was a Gettleman pick. And we've already seen what Shane and Dave's kind of they will give the good ones a chance, but if you do not take that chance, or if you potentially throw that chance back in their face, they have no issues of saying goodbye. I mean, we've already ranted and raved about McKinney enough. I won't go back into it, but no, in my opinion, I don't think he'll be getting a new contract at the end of the season. Kev?
It was so funny because like he was nailed on. We were like, he should have got a contract last year. We should have definitely given it to him. Blah blah blah. And he's just come out this year with the underpar performance and a childish attitude. Like it's so crazy. I mean, he did try to backtrack a little bit, didn't he? Yes, was it yesterday? He's here and he wants to stay, and it's the team that drafted him, and he owes them so much. But to be honest, his play hasn't reflected that. Now, it will be interesting to see what negotiations are like even if Joe Sheehan and Dave will want to keep him, because he won't be offered anywhere near what I think he wants. So to answer the question, I think he'll test free agency, and his value will be a lot less than he thinks.
Big time. Big time. He's got a lot to prove, that boy has. If he carries on the way he's going, he's not going to get a new contract, and it's going to be bye-bye Xavier McKinney, because he doesn't deserve to be there. Again, prove yourself. Play with some passion. Play with some desire. All right, and final question. So the Giants have got a good young core here, but there are sort of still many gaps in the roster, as we full well know. If they don't go quarterback next year, for whatever reason, what else do they need to do to make sure they draft to help us become consistently competitive, Kev?
Well, there's a couple of things they can do, right? They could, if they decide, and it's going to be so hard, and from what I'm hearing everywhere, it's definitely on the table, on the cards. But if they decide they don't want to go that route, then probably the best case scenario is trade out of the pick. It's a trade out of the top 3, top 4, whatever. Garner extra picks like going forward, like, because they're like gold dust. But I think like O-line, I mean, guard or tackle is huge. I mean, everything will be dependent on Neil's future, whether Neil, stays at tackle, or actually, they decide next year we're going to move you into guard and to play you there, and then we go tackle in the draft. I mean, other options are wide receiver, like a true number 1, like that alpha, that Marvin Harrison. Now, that would be hard to do in this draft if they do go quarterback in round 1. Although so many good players are picked in the second round, it's hard to get that absolute stud number 1. And I can't see past going edge rusher as well, because as much as I love Azeez Ojulari, he just cannot stay healthy.
Yeah, you kind of picked up on my one there at the end, Kev. Edge rusher was kind of where I was looking. I'd be lying if I didn't say there was a little part inside of me that wants Jared Verse from FSU to come to the Giants opposite Thibodeau, because I think he's an absolute monster. However, that's the kind of pick people are going to be making in the 5 to 15 range. I think 5 is his ceiling, and that might be being generous for Verse. I do think he's definitely a top 15 pick, but 5 might be a bit rich, as Shane would say. Edge rushers a massive need there. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up taking maybe looking at safety again. Belton doesn't seem to have lit the loins, shall we say, of Shane and Dave's. We've already spoken about X, and I think Pinnock will be there next season, but who knows past that? He's only there for another year. And then there's the obvious ones. El Jefe put it really well in one of his latest videos of where he was saying, I don't want the Giants to just win meaningless games and then draft a guard out of Minnesota at pick 20, which I thought was like one of the funniest lines he's ever come out with, because it was so true.
Epic. It was epic.
It's so true.
And it just reminded me of Shane.
Yeah, it did. It instantly. I think I text Shane and I was just like, Shane, what do you think of this? And he was like, don't even start. If we don't go for quarterback, can we not take an offensive lineman in the first round, please? I don't care how high our pick is. As I said on Twitter the other day, on that line at the moment, and these players are contracted for next year. From what I understand, Pugh's not contracted for next year as of yet. But if he does play next year for the Giants have 3 first rounders and a second rounder on that line. I think that's quite enough. Thank you very much. But yeah, a wide receiver would be a very high pick. But I can't see the Giants doing anything.
A true wide receiver one.
I think if we're going to get a true wide receiver, I think if we're going to get a true wide receiver one, and the plan is to go quarterback, then free agency we could be tasty in that.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan? We haven't covered punter or kicker. Feel free.
I mean, the Scottish Hammer. He's been that one consistency on special teams, and I think he's almost at the point where he's had a breakout year. I mean, Andy, I'm really sorry. We're not going to trade our first round pick away to the XFL and get Brad Wing back. As much as you want that, and as much as I would want Brad Wing back for your sake, it's not going to happen. But where do I see us? Where do we need to strengthen? I mean, it's mad that we're only halfway through the season and we're already talking about where we need to strengthen next year. But it just goes to show the position we're in already. Receiver. Does Barkley get a new deal?
Yeah.
Do we look to strengthen at running back? Maybe.
They don't value him in the first round.
Darren Waller. Yeah, exactly. But what's is Darren Waller? Can he stay healthy? Can Darren Waller stay healthy? You know, he's got his injury problems. I agree. I hope we don't go offensive line. Really don't. Just for Shane's sake more than anything, because I think he would likely to blow his top and turn into a raging alcoholic or something like that if we do that. I don't know. I think our defense is in a pretty good state. I think a bit of safety help would be great. And I don't know, maybe if Ashawn and Nacho are sort of at the stage where they're not the one in the middle alongside Dexter Lawrence, and maybe look for a defensive tackle. But like I said at the start, if we are picking top 5, I can't see us not drafting the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So all these positions we're talking about are likely to be sort of in the second round and further on. We've got 2 2s next year, so
maybe
there's some decent value we can pick up in the second round. So
maybe 2 2s.
Maybe
we might be using them to move up.
If they're all in on a quarterback, I think we might have to go 1, because Chicago potentially are going to get 1 and 2, and Chicago could quite easily trade away that other one to somebody who wants a quarterback.
So here's a question for you both. If we're sitting there at 4, right? At 4,
mm-hmm.
and we have to give up next year's first to go to 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But no guarantees, but it's very, very likely the quarterback's going to be good. Do you do it?
Yep.
I think you have to.
Of course you have to.
You have to. I mean, let's face it, the general manager position in football is it's a bloody it's a nightmare. It's such a hard task to get it right. But they get paid the big money. They're in that position to make these difficult decisions. And like Andy said, you'd have to, if you're wanting to move up to number 1 or second or even second pick overall, then you'd have to, if you know. Go on, Kev.
Does this mean that there might be a possibility that we do the Big Blue UK and Ireland War Room again?
I'm in.
If we're picking that high, I mean, surely we have to get a War Room of reaction.
All over that.
Well, we could even have
a watch party in London.
We could. I mean, if we can't have that, we've got live stream capabilities this time.
Yeah, true that. I think a watch party might be unrealistic because it's quite late, isn't it? And I don't know if anyone will be open that late.
Hippo, we can brainstorm it.
Yeah, that's the talk about in the off season. Let's not talk about them. We don't need to plan that far ahead. For God's sake. All right.
Would it be that a couple of years ago the Bears trade with us to get their QB, and then now coming next season, if we have to trade with the Bears to get our QB in the future?
Mate, it'll come full circle, wouldn't it? I mean, there you go. I suppose, yeah, it is early when you're picking first, but that's if we pick first. Remember, have some hope. You know, say a prayer. Ain't gonna happen.
More than a prayer.
Yeah, you're gonna need more than a prayer. Absolutely, but yeah, Andy, yeah, if you're in London for it, and we can work something out potentially. You know, that'd be good enough. I'm up for that. Fully up for that. All right then. I think we better cut it there. Hour and a quarter. I think we've gone through enough therapy. Dable is not tanking, Steve. He's not tanking. Tanking? No.
There was something I was listening to earlier. I think it might have been the Giant Insider podcast when they were reviewing the Raiders, and they said that owners might want to tank, but coaches don't tank and players don't tank. And it's as simple as that.
It's pride at the end of the day, isn't it? It's pride. Hello, Darius. Evening.
The Mars won't be happy to see their head coach tank. They love this team too much.
Yeah, we've touched on that before about the Maras. You know, the integrity of the Maras will not allow this team to tank.
No,
and the tissues.
They might inadvertently tank in terms of they're going to try. They're still going to try to win games. Doug Peterson would. They're going to try to win games. They're going to plan to put a game plan together for each game and try and win a game. It's not going to happen, but they're going to try. So at least they've tried.
I mean, we are starting rookie QB out of Illinois who tried to stay in college but wasn't allowed.
Says it all, really. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of our 2023 season. We are playing a quarterback that wanted to stay in college but wasn't allowed. Fan-fucking-tastic. Now, no matter what we see over the coming 9 weeks, we know one thing: it is going to be extremely tough. A second half of the season, and no doubt even tougher to watch at times. But you can count on one thing: we'll be here as usual to give you our take and our thoughts and our vents and our frustrations and our anger. And maybe, you never know, maybe our delight, because something delightful may happen over the next 9 weeks. But we'll be here for the rest of the season throughout. So you can count on us for that, that's for sure. But unfortunately, like I said, that is all we have time for tonight. But we will be back on Friday evening because we've got a game this weekend, if anybody knew that. And unfortunately, the first game that Tommy DeVito is going to start in is against the team that started this downfall at the beginning of the season in week 1, the Dallas Cowboys. So yeah, we go to Jerry World and let's be on the other end of another hiding at the hands of Dak Prescott and his crew. So yeah, really looking forward to that game on Sunday. It's a pretty tough start to life with Tommy DeVito under center, like I said, but you know, it's the Cowboys. Anything can happen in that game. It's a divisional game, so again, anything can happen. So you know, we'll be watching. So there we go. Anything else to add before we go, guys?
No, just what's the worst can happen? It's the first time the Giants have started a undrafted rookie quarterback since like the '60s, I think. Like so, I mean, what's the worst can happen? Tommy DeVito for the win. But no seriousness. It's not the game. We need to get behind the team. We're going over in a couple of weeks, and I think for anything, just stay on the show, stay on the channel, stay on the socials, because we'll be posting loads of stuff about us going over there, and there'll be lots of little videos, lots of little clips, lots of little interviews and stuff, and we're very much looking forward to it. And we want to see some, like you said, Dan, competitive football. Show a bit of fight, show a bit of spirit, and now maybe the time without tanking of playing the younger guys that we see can have a long-term future.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as much as we joke and we laugh and we say how much we hate this and do a Kevin from bloody Harry Enfield and just throw arms around.
Hey, it's so unfair.
The Giants are still our team. They're the reason we do the podcast. They're the reason that we know each other. Apart from me and Dan, we've known each other since we were wee bairns.
Wee bairns.
Apart from that, they're the reason. They're the reason that we have these chats, and they're always therapeutic, and they always make me laugh. And thank you to everybody. I mean, we've still got a nice handful of people still watching, and we're an hour and 20 minutes in, so I appreciate it. And the number's been fluctuating all the way throughout. The amount of comments we've got are amazing, and sorry we haven't been able to bring them all up, but sometimes the context is only there for a few seconds and then it's gone and it wouldn't make any sense. But we appreciate it very, very much so. And let's roll on trying to talk about another team on Friday.
The Dallas freaking Cowboys.
Just to touch on what Steve's saying there, was it bad that on Sunday even Craig was angry tweeting? Steve apparently plays a game where he tries to figure out which one of us four are tweeting on Twitter, and he thought that it was Dan tweeting, whereas in fact I had lost my rag and was having a nice little angry tweet session. So thank you, Steve, for that.
Awesome.
I told you there'd be plenty of obscenity, Steve. So you're welcome. But it's going to be tough over the next 9 weeks. Like I said, it's not going to be pretty, but stick with us because we're going to be here week in, week out. Although maybe when we're in New York, maybe not live, we're still going to be on the socials and putting loads of content out there. So keep with us, keep with the channel, like Kev said, and give us thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, get in touch with us, comment. Just enjoy and come chat all things Giants with us. Good. Well, you're welcome. If you haven't already, and you've got no excuse not to, subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell to get all the latest updates and notifications. Head over to our Etsy shop, etsy.co.uk/Big Blue UK and Ireland. Like I said, 7 weeks away from Christmas. Get yourself some pod merch or get your loved ones some podcast merch. To show us some love and to spread the love as well. And you can talk all about us and, say how amazing we are. One thing I will say before we go as well, as always, remember, it is okay to talk. We've said before, sports have such a profound impact on our lives and many other people's lives. And if you're struggling and you need to get your thoughts off your chest, we are here every week to talk. And not just to talk, but to talk Giants football. And we are unbelievably passionate about this team. We love this team. We will love this team through thick and thin. And we know you guys that are watching and listening also love this team through thick and thin. So if you're struggling and you find you need to talk and get it off your chest, that's what we're here for. We're here for you guys. We're here to talk, help you with what you're going through and what you're thinking, because no doubt some of us are thinking it as well. Like I will openly admit, like Sunday, I was absolutely dejected, like completely and utterly dejected about the game and about the situation we found ourselves in. But by the end, by sort of Tuesday, I'm back to my normal self and I'm ready to rock because I've had time to decompress and doing this podcast week in, week out is our way. Like I said, we joke and say it's a therapy session, but in all honesty, it does really, really help. But also remember as well, we're here, but also Andy's Man Club are here. I want to give a huge shout out and congratulations to them. They had a record number of attendees last week, with 378 new men attending a session last week throughout the UK, to bring a total attendance to just under 4,000 men that attended a session somewhere in the UK to talk about mental health and to talk about their problems. So huge congrats to them, huge props to them, and keep doing the great work that you're doing. And like I said, remember, it is okay to talk. We're extremely proud to be associated with them, and we wholeheartedly encourage you to reach out and talk when you need to as well. My thanks, as ever, go to Kev, to Craig, and to you, the viewers and listeners, for tuning in. We're signing off until next time. Believe it or not, let's go Giants.